What's up, Ron here, and today we're reviewing Nickel Azo Yellow by Daniel Smith. What's up, Ron here. Thank you for joining me in another video. And today, after a long time of no paint show episodes, we're doing this one on Nickel Azo Yellow by Daniel Smith. This is a paint I've been waiting for such a long time to review because I've seen it back when I believe Steve Mitchel talked about his favorite paints, and this one came up, Nickel Azo Yellow, and I read about it a bit, and it just turns out to be a very good yellow to use. And this is also what I discovered during the review process. I actually bought it when I was in the US together with these two, the Daniel Smith Phthalo Blue, which I know and I'm familiar with. I just wanted more of because I'm starting to run out here, and this one, Alizarin Crimson, which isn't really a permanent one, but I just wanted to give it a shot. So these two, but I'm actually going to use it in the future more with this, the Parylene Red, I believe. Yeah, Parylene Red. But in any case, this paint is a really good one. It is a Lightfast transparent yellow. It is very vibrant, as you will see in the demo. It is a Series 2. I'm going to talk a bit more about these characteristics, I believe, later on. But anyway, Series 2, Lightfastness 1, which is the best. It's non-granulating. It's just a good yellow to have. It's PY 150, which is the pigment, which is nickel azomethine yellow, and it's good. It's very recommended. I did some reading on Handprint, which is a really good website for pigments, stuff like that, and it talked about this one a lot and recommended this one as a substitute for less, just inferior yellows. So in any case, I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and let's get started. Okay, so here's a better look at the tube, and I love the 15 milliliter tubes that are larger, more fat compared to the 5 milliliter tubes that are tiny. Nickel Azo Yellow, Daniel Smith, 15 milliliters. Let's see what else we can find here. Series 2, so it's not the cheapest series, but still not as bad. Lightfastness is the best. Let's see what we have here. We should have the pigment as well, PY 150 that I mentioned, Nickel Azomethine Yellow. This is just overall a yellow I'm curious about and I think is a good choice, generally speaking. So what I'm going to do is rearrange the workspace and I'm going to swatch it out and show you some examples and some mixes. Okay, so let's see what this one behaves like straight out of the tube. Sometimes the paint spills, sometimes it just behaves nicely. So I don't know if this one is really soft. Okay, this one's quite hard, I think, so it doesn't really spill out. And I'm just gonna make a little dot here for me that I'll use. It's really mustard-like. I'm gonna hold it up to the camera so you can better see it now. So it's very mustard-like, I would say. So I'm curious to see just what it's going to be like. So let's give it a shot. I'm going to use this to pick up the paint, but then I have my palette here for mixing and so on. So I'm just going to rotate that. And I'm just going to pick up some of the paint. And I'm going to zoom in later on to better show you what I'm doing. But this is actually, wow, it really lightens up when you use the water. I wasn't expecting it to go like this because it does look very ochre-ish, I suppose. But in any case, and don't worry, I'm going to zoom in later and show you just the details of what it looks like. But this should really be a good yellow in general. It has many of the desired properties that people look for when they get a yellow paint. So it's interesting to see. And now I'm using a bit of a stronger one. So it does feel a little warm, a little not gold. It's not orange as well. It's still very pure of a yellow, I would say, but it can get stronger, as I can see. I'm going to try and push it to be really strong now, and I'm using it almost purely from the swatch here. So this is probably as dark as it'll get. Very interesting and very beautiful. And I knew this. I saw this paint is one of Steve Mitchel from the Mind of Watercolor, one of his favorite paints, so I knew it's going to be a good one. Let's now try and do some wet and wet. I'm going to zoom in a bit, so hopefully now you can better see the details. And I'm just going to clean my brush and then pre-wet this area. It has a bit of a yellow tint to the water. Sometimes it's hard to get rid of, but that's fine. Just pre-wetting it. The paper I'm using is the Canson Montval sketchbook. The brush is a Princeton, and the paint is obviously Daniel Smith. So let's just grab some paint here. Start dabbing it in there. And what I'm really curious about is the mixes. It's my first time using this, so I don't really know what it will mix well with, what the recommendations are. So I'm just going to try out a few blues, a few reds, and that way we'll know. It's been really a long time since I did one of those paint show episodes. To be quite honest, I felt like I'm doing them because I have to and because it's routine, just out of existing momentum. Because I like to nerd about paint, but more like compare art materials. So if I'm meeting someone, a fellow artist or painter, I like to see what they have, but not necessarily just like, I don't recommend even having a huge multitude of different paints and colors, because it doesn't seem to me like it matters as much. And I felt like I'm doing it just because it is popular, which is good enough of a reason to do it. But now I feel like I'm more clear-headed about that, and I can kind of balance it a little better with my personal feelings. So in any case, now I'm going to do some dry brush here. But what I was going to say is that if I'm not as sharp as I usually am, that's because it's been a while since the last episode, so you'll have to excuse me about that. So yeah, now we're starting, it starts to feel a little even brownish, which I like. I like it a lot, and in any case, I usually tend to use my yellows very clean. And the watered down version is beautiful, but it's good to know that it also has somewhat of a range that will allow me to use it, you know, for darker shadows, because I do like to play with warm and cool shadows. So now I'm gonna rearrange some stuff and we'll try out some mixes. Okay, so I have two main blues on this palette, and I think this will be a good place to start with the testing. So I have the Phthalo blue here and the French ultramarine, a warm and a cool blue. So we're going to start with the French ultramarine, which has always been a favorite of mine. Then I'm going to add a bit of the yellow in it, and we'll see what kind of green, we get. So this is kind of what we got. The paint feels a little chalky. It's hard to explain, but it looks like it really hardens. That, I don't know if it's gonna be a problem. I'll have to keep you updated on it once I use it more outside. And maybe after some while that it hardens on the palette. But I don't think it should be a major issue, but we'll see. So in any case, now I'm gonna try and push it to be a little darker here. And you can see I can produce quite the dark green. With the French ultramarine, as always, it's a very neutral green that could work well for different landscapes. I really like the way these two combine to create a very natural olive kind of green. This looks really similar to the landscape you'll see in Israel. So I visited Jerusalem during the holiday a few days ago, and this was really the kind of green you would see, lots of olive trees, and with the reddish yellow color of the earth. It's really something similar. So now I'm going to try and mix it with some phthalo blue, and this is going to give us I think a brighter, more artificial green, which is to be expected of the phthalo paint. Still a beautiful one, and these could work together. So you could use this one for the lighter, happier parts of a tree or a bush or anything like that, and then use this one for the darker spots. Even though phthalo blue can get quite dark, so it makes sense to use it for the shadows as well. So it could be interesting, just the variations on it, and I do have a feeling this is going to become a long-term favorite of mine. So next up, I want to try out some reds and mixing it up with those. So I have here the two main reds I have is this permanent alizarin crimson by SAA, and then I have the cadmium red light by PwC. So we have a nice little combination of different brands. So I'm going to start with the alizarin crimson, a very soft red. This one really, you have to be careful when you put it on the palette and you use it on the go, because it tends to very easily spill. and then you can have some trouble. Like my palette is permanently blocked by some alizarin crimson that merged, I guess, with the cap, with the little thing that you open the palette with. So in any case, there we go, some pure red, and we get this nice orange. Not even the happiest orange, I would say, not the brightest orange, but a good one that could be used for many things. This could probably get very dark as well. Last one I want to try is, as mentioned, with the cadmium red, but I'm just going to dig through it to achieve some purity here. I think, so this, I'm not sure if it's a cadmium or a perylene. This is probably a perylene dark red. So my bad, it's not really cadmium. But you can see it's a bit cooler than the alizarin crimson, just a tiny bit. And we'll probably get a very similar orange. Let's try just digging straight into the yellow here. So you get this here, and then we have the perylene. So a bit of a happier combination, I would say. This is definitely my favorite among these two. But what's interesting is if you look at all of these combinations, they work really well together. All of these. So this could definitely be used together. I actually, as I mentioned, I bought it with another one. Let's see if I can find it now. Another phthalo blue. There we go. Phthalo blue. And then together with the perylene dark red, the perylene red, sorry, by Daniel Smith. So what you see is mostly a combination of these, except for this one, which is the French ultramarine. That I also have here, French ultramarine. So these together create a beautiful combination that I really like. So if you're planning on using this, if you're like me and you prefer primary trios and not to get too bogged down in the details of what color to use and have 3 greens on your palette, if you're like me, this is a really good one, versatile, transparent. And even if you just look at this part here, notice the variety and the beauty. I just hope it'll focus. There we go. Notice how beautiful it is, and really I want to show you up close. It looks really gray, but then when it opens up with the water, it becomes really happy. So this is definitely going to be a recommendation of mine. I will keep you updated here on Instagram and Snapchat and all of the other places that I update on a more frequent basis, so that you can see more of this in action and how I find it with more. With subsequent use, with more just further use of it. So in any case, I really hope you enjoyed this one, and now it is time to wrap it up. So this is it. I really hope you enjoyed this one, seeing Nickel Azo Yellow. I think this is going to become a long-term favorite of mine. I do want to test it out a little more in an plein air, on location painting environment, see how it fares, how it behaves. I like the fact that it can get a little darker, especially compared to lemon yellow and these kinds of yellows that even if you try to use it like straight out of the tube, it's still going to be quite light. So this one does give you a little more variety and versatility. If you want to play around with warmer shadows and red isn't enough for you, then this is a really good one to have to create a dark orange. Okay, a dark, still happy orange that you don't need to add blue to darken. So in any case, a really good one. Be sure to check out the links below. I have my beginner's drawing course. I actually finished my Sketching People course. It's called Sketching People Masterclass, that I highly recommend you check out. I'm going to link everything in the description box below, just the main courses. And also, what else is there? The Instagram. I really highly recommend you check out my Instagram page, because I post a lot there lately, and I'm trying to up my Instagram game there as well. And also IGTV, that's going to be meant for showing final pieces, removing the tape, things like this. And yeah, I'm trying to slowly increase the frequency of the videos as well. So now we're at 3 a week, and I want to do more because I feel like I'm starting to find my voice again, and I'm starting to create in a more authentic way. In the past, again, I used to do these episodes a little more. It was a bit just because of the momentum, and I wasn't feeling it at times, but I still wanted to get it done for you. And now I feel like I'm much more connected to the process and to the paint show as well. And I'm really happy we were like at episode, I don't even remember the number, but we've done a lot of these. So in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you again, and I will see you again in another vid real soon.